Hey guys, I'm Elliot Berger. This is going to be a little tutorial on the drums in my track Home, which came out yesterday, but it might not be yesterday, it depends on when this video comes out. In fact, no, it came out 2 days ago, my bad. Anyway, so I'll just play a little bit in the second half. If you want to hear the full track, I'll put that in the description, it's fine. And then I'll kind of go through the drums step by step. So here we go. Okay, so you get the idea. So anyway, let me open up the drums. If I just play the drums quickly on their own. There we go. So let me go through them one by one. So we'll start with the kick. Fairly basic stuff. The processing actually on all of this is fairly basic. I mean, it's quite an old track now. It was started in September, which is when most of these, September 2014, which is when most of these drums would have been done. But you know, I tend to try and keep things fairly simple anyway. All my EQs, everything across my tracks are relatively simple. I think it's just about knowing consciously when, like, what you're doing and go from there rather than putting a load of stuff in and then trying to fix your problems later. So yeah, let me start with the kick. This is what the kick sounds like on its own. Let me turn all these off. That filter is just a fairly standard low pass filter for a build up, so I'll ignore that for now. But this is what the kick sounds like dry. It's just like a standard Vengeance dubstep kick. So the EQ shapes it quite a lot if I do before and after. I've boosted the lows and the highs, which I kind of wouldn't recommend. I probably wouldn't do that now, but it's obviously worked in context. Just kind of boosting where the fundamental or the whole kind of low end really. Rolling off any mud, anything below 55. That frequency would depend. All of these frequencies will be completely kick dependent. So don't kind of look at this and be like, oh, I have to roll it off at this frequency. The same applies for all of the drums. But anyway, dipping the mids, basically to focus the lows and the highs. If you're obviously dipping something and then boosting the full signal, it's a similar effect to boosting everything else, but you're not kind of raising any noise levels or anything like that in the same way that you would be if you boosted with EQ. But I boosted with EQ anyway, because I'm an idiot. Okay, next, it's a compressor. When I put compressors on my drums, I tend to try and transient shape them. So the transient of the drum is, if you don't know, is literally that first attack bit there. And the way I'll do that is just tend to have like a slow attack. I might do like a quick compressor video for like kick drums or snares or whatever at a later date, because it'll take a couple of minutes, but it's pretty simple. But anyway, I tend to do a slow attack to let the transient come through, and then have the release hitting so that basically so that it covers the full length of the kick, but the release is finished by the time the next kick comes in. So that you're not affecting the later kicks with the compression from the previous one. And then a limiter just to kind of control it. Nothing kind of too crazy. As I said, it's all really basic stuff. Next thing in my like drum processing is my kick transient here, which is just sounds like this. And this is the only place it plays in the whole song. And it's more of a kind of sound design thing. Seeing it's on my drum bus, I thought I'd cover it. So if I play it in context with everything else, it's kind of over that sort of screechy bass, and it just adds like a transient to that, like a click. This was before I had Serum. If I was using Serum now, Serum actually has this kind of thing built in. This is the way of doing it before I had Serum. Oh, crazy drivers. Anyway, next thing is the snare. Processing on this, again, super simple. Boosted the fundamental. This is the main snare. There's two others on top, which I will go through. And there's like a reverse snare thing as well. So yeah, boosted the fundamental, and I boosted the kind of crack at the top to help it sit nicer in the mix. One of the main things I've done with this is actually pitched it up 3 semitones, and the reason I've done this is if I bring up my analyzer, I've used Voxengo Span, which is really good, free analyzer, and if I play it, the track is in C minor, and the fundamental from the snare is hitting at C. It basically makes everything kind of sit better together. Your snare is in tune with the rest of your track, which especially with kind of electronic snares where they have got a bit of a tone to them, I think it's really important. Okay, this second snare, let's play it. So I'll play all 3 on there together. Yeah, so this second snare, it's kind of got like a woody sort of acousticy sound to it. And I've literally just notched out the fundamental to avoid any phase problems. Basically, if you leave the fundamental in all of them, they'll be at slightly different frequencies, and you'll end up with like a big, muddy, boomy snare, which you don't really want. You want it nice and tight, or at least I want it nice and tight. Everything I'm saying is obviously my way of doing it. It's not the way of doing it. Okay, and again, third snare, just notched out the fundamental, and I've boosted the tops there nicely. This is literally, this third snare is just noise, but it had quite like a weird, yeah, like thump to it. I didn't like the fundamental of that at all, so I've removed it and not obviously isolated it, because I could have isolated that one and used it, but I didn't like it. Okay, and the pull snare is just literally a clap that I've taken the clap out of. If I play the full thing, I've literally just done that. So it pulls into the snare. So if I play the drums with it in, you can hear it just kind of pulling into the next one. And there's no processing on that at all. I might have high passed it, but there's probably no low end in it anyway. It wasn't really a problem. Okay, toms. Now I've actually bounced down my toms. I started this before I upgraded my RAM, and my computer couldn't really handle it. So I bounced a few things down, like the piano's bounced down as well. Oh, he says, yeah, the pianos are all bounced down as well. And where I wouldn't kind of do that now, it doesn't matter too much. The processing, actually, I looked at the original processing on it, and the processing wasn't anything crazy. It was literally just another EQ to roll the low end off. The samples I used were just Session Dry, which is part of Session Drum Studio, which if you've bought Ableton, you can go on their website and get a copy of for free. So yeah, if I go through this quickly, so all I've done is a low roll off and a tiny boost at the top end. And then I've used a multiband compressor just to, Pro MB is really good because you can isolate certain bands, so you don't have to compress the whole thing. And it's also got an analyzer built in, so you can look at them. And you can kind of see which frequencies are the ones you want to be looking at. So you can see this one is literally just controlling all the low end of each one, the fundamental hit. Basically, I didn't want it too boomy, so I've got rid of that. And then I've kind of controlled the top end and boosted it slightly as well, which is why the curve goes up. So if I kind of do it before and after, this EQ is fairly standard, but if I do it before and after with the multiband compression, so you can listen, it kind of tightens it up and really crisps out the top end, which is great. And all the crashes are pretty much exactly the same as far as processing goes. But all I've done, if I play all 3 of them, this one is actually just for this section here. So if I play the whole section, just so you can get, oh, he says. So just for that, take all the low end out and take a tiny bit of the top end out to get rid of any sizzle. This kind of track has a lot of top end in it anyway, so I try to get rid of some of the stuff from like the crashes, because the synths have a lot of top end to them, a lot of noise and things like that. Again, same there and same there. Nothing crazy about it at all. All my drums are sent to a bus. Again, that's just another like effect filter, so ignore it for now. And I use the drum parallel preset in the glue compressor. Basically what it does is parallel compression, which is where you have like a really heavily compressed signal and you combine it with the original dry uncompressed signal, which means you get like a really strong sound for the compression, but you've also got the transient response and the dynamics from the dry signal. And then it just soft clips it, which kind of works in a similar way to a limiter. And that's it, really. and it kind of helps gel everything together as well. But yeah, that's everything. So if you guys have any, I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions or anything, just let me know in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you. If you've got anything you want like to see me cover, then just again write in the comments or write on my Facebook wall or whatever. I'll leave all my links in the description, as well as a link to the original track as well. Yeah, have a great day, guys.